Hi everyone, and welcome to Leveraging Partnerships for Hassle-Free Lead Generation. Did you know that 78% of B2B referrals create viable customer leads for the business being referred? That's a huge statistic, and I think it's probably even higher in the terms of referrals that I talk about, which is warm, contextualized introductions, so that there's trust there right from the very get-go. In that instance, I suggest it's pretty close to 100%. Referrals create 65% of all new business opportunities. And referred customers have a 37% higher retention rate. So think about that in terms of lifetime value. Now, these stats are pretty impressive, but they don't surprise me. When you think about it, word of mouth and referrals are probably the oldest form of marketing that's been around for centuries. What does surprise me, though, is that people don't look at this strategically as they should do. Maybe it's not trendy because it's been around for so long. We spend our time on Facebook and PPC and SEO and all these other things. But actually, are we neglecting that form of marketing that's tried and tested and delivers results like you've just seen? I absolutely love partnerships, and so I'm on a mission to change that and get people working in this awesome way in a more strategic and modern way. So who am I and why do I get to talk about this? Well, other than being a pretty cute toddler, I've got a background in business membership, and we grew that to 2,000 members almost entirely through strategic partners and member referrals. So we grew our own business through them, relied on it. However, also, I've been on the other side of the coin quite a lot, where I've been responsible providing leads to other brands, typically bigger brands as well. So we were the top referral partner for Regis, the global office and co-working space in 2013, outperforming office brokers and people like that. We were Volvo's SME engagement partner for 2 years, bringing the business community into their showrooms. Mercer Marsh, a huge corporate employee benefit provider. We were their SME engagement partner. Delivered 10,000 leads to Yale over a 2-year period. So high volume stuff there. And all told, I think I've reached 1 million business owners through partnership channels. So I've had some successes, but what it also means is I've witnessed many mistakes along the way as well. And that's what I'm here to share with you now, is the best practice that I've gathered over these 15 years working in partnerships. Because what I do now is I support ambitious kind of service-led business owners like John here to set up their own strategic partner channels and generate high-quality referral leads on a consistent basis. Now, I'm going to get this out the way nice and early in this short webinar, and really make sure that this is for you, because who can kind of run a partner program? Well, I haven't met any business that couldn't benefit from referrals, but who this is really ideally suited at is people who are highly credible first and foremost. If you have the relevant experience and expertise in your chosen sector, it makes forming the partnership and then leveraging that on an ongoing basis so much easier, and we'll come on to that today. A service-led offering. Now, this doesn't mean that your core offering has to be a service. It can still be a product or something productized, but that you position it and you lead with it in a service-led offering. It's a consultative sell. So much easier in forming proper strategic partnerships, which is what we're looking at today. Strong values. So both in terms of knowing what you and your business stand for, but also really crystal clear on the value that you can deliver. People who offer an exceptional service. Now, this might sound like a given and an obvious one, but actually it's not. There's plenty of businesses out there where it is either a quick product or service driven sell that's all about volume, getting people in the door and out the door and on to the next one. Now, while there is absolutely the ability to leverage partners in that instance, but things like affiliates, It's not my particular area of expertise, and so this this webinar, while you'll get some useful points for it, won't be as geared at that. This is around where you're offering a really high level of service to your customer or client, and that you're excited to grow. It should be exciting. It should be exciting growing your business. You should have a passion to want to do that. And they're the businesses that I work best with. So that's why I put it on there. Business, like life, should be fun. I often say if you're not enjoying it, you're not doing it right. And so that's the people that hopefully will get the most value from partnerships and the most value from my way of doing partnerships. And I think the reason why I love partnerships so much is, like I said, is because business should be fun. And I believe partnerships are a great way of making your business more enjoyable. Many of the people I speak to, they're fed up with some of the more traditional forms of lead generation. And they don't mind doing the sales piece. That's fun, right? Doing sales, you're talking to someone who wants your service and how you can deliver value. But some of the traditional forms of lead generation is things that, whether they're growing their business and they're established, or whether they're just starting out on that business journey, there's kind of so many things we can do. And they have, while I'm not saying we shouldn't do them, and partnerships is just one piece of a marketing mix, there is so many things we can be doing, and they have their inherent kind of issues with them. There's the creating loads of content, and that just can take up so much time. Again, I'm not saying we don't produce content. What am I doing now? I'm producing content to build my brand and add value. But I know so many people that just produce so much content, and it takes a huge amount of time. Learning or sourcing new skills takes valuable resource, either money, time again, or just your brain power. There's the things like Facebook ads or PPC or SEO or any other acronyms in the dark arts, where it's so complex and you're at the whims of people like Google to change an algorithm, that can be really draining and you don't know which one to start with. The great thing about partnerships and word of mouth is that it's all fairly simple. None of it's rocket science. It fundamentally hasn't changed from medieval times or caveman times or wherever it was, where you'd have that word of mouth going on. It's just about doing things in a more strategic way. We have your 10x programs. So the transform your business in 30 days, or 100k revenue from this new stream in 5 days, or whatever it may be. And there's so many of those that are snake oil kind of salesman style things going on here. And yes, they'll have a testimonial from one person that it works for, kind of thing. But yeah, they're a particular soapbox subject of mine on those, so I'm going to move on. We've got your traditional cold call prospecting, hitting the phones, which some people love it. Not many businesses that I speak to really enjoy that kind of hassle and hustle style of old school hitting the numbers. And then networking and ad hoc referrals, which can produce inconsistent results at best, I would say, both in terms of volume and quantity and quality. Now, you might be going, hang on a minute, he's put referrals on that, and I thought that's what this webinar was about. And it is. And so I'm about to make a really strong and clear distinction that I think is important between a referral partner and a strategic partner. A referral partner can be anyone at any time and anywhere. It's your customers, it's your clients, it's your contacts, it's your friends, it's your family, it's whoever. And because of the very nature of that, they are going to be slightly random, and they're not always going to be your ideal target market. And it's not going to necessarily be something that you can rely on. A strategic partner is a business or an individual that you have targeted because you know there's a fit there, which means they are going to be regular and reliable, both in terms of volume and in terms of the quality of lead. In fact, take the time to get this piece right, and your strategic partnerships will deliver high quality leads that ideally match your target market on a consistent basis, and one that you can turn the tap on and scale if you want. The leads that come won't haggle on price. If they do, it'll be very little, and they won't be shopping around because of the trust that's built, and because of that sales cycle is so much shorter because of that. Now, I don't think I know anyone who doesn't want more of those types of leads. But to do that, you need to have a proper strategy. And that's what I've built through my lived experience, good bits and bad bits, to come up with a framework. And that's Disco. Now, I said I like to keep things fun, and those of you that have seen any of my other content know I love a good boogie. And so my partnership framework is all about the Disco. What I'm going to do over the next kind of 20 minutes is walk through my Disco framework, or dance through my Disco framework, and then right at the very end I'll let you know a little bit more about how you can work with me. But the next 20 minutes will be all about how you can implement this in your business. So we will start with the D for discovery, and I suppose on that dancehall theme, this is picking what music you like, what venue you're going to like. And there's two sides to this. First one is you, and that's who's your ideal client. If you don't know who your ideal client is, then it's very hard to find who your ideal partner is. And I don't mean any small business owner. It's so tempting to do that. I know so many people that struggle with the fear of missing out, of saying, oh, this is who we work with. It's not about saying that you can't work with other people, but the more defined you are on who your ideal client is, that could be sector, it could be size of business, it could be any number of things. If you're not razor sharp on your ideal client, then it's very hard to really show the level of value that you can deliver to that person, which is absolutely crucial in forming strategic partnerships that deliver leads on a consistent basis. So I'd really encourage you to be as defined as possible. And as I said, it's not about changing your whole business to be specialist just in one area. If you think of it as just running a particular marketing campaign to target this particular channel. And if you're really struggling with this, just think about where you've done your very best work, not that delivers huge value to the customer and you've really enjoyed, and it's all seemed kind of seamless. Not only that, but you can demonstrate that as well. And if you've got that, then I would say that's a great place to start for an ideal client. And also really understanding what your values are and the value that you deliver to that ideal customer and how that shines through. Because once you've got that, you can then look at who your ideal partner is. Now, there's a load of obvious things that you can do when you're doing this, and I would start by writing a big old list of everything that your ideal customer is either buying or where they're hanging out. So what other services and products are they buying? What groups are they a part of? Come up with a big old list of all those people, and any of those can be a partner. And again, you could work with any of them. Finding an ideal partner doesn't mean you don't work with anyone else. It's just about where you focus your proactive efforts. So once you've got that big old list, run back through it and think of everyone who's congruent with what you do. Who are the people on that list where the conversation that they would be having with their customer or their audience is sensible and easy to drop you in as well, that it doesn't kind of jar, if you know what I mean, where's there a congruent, similar offering. That's your starting point for your list of partners. Once you've gone through those, you want to look at how they're communicating with their customer, and do they have the right volume? Do they have the right engagement with their audience? Depending on your product or service, you might need partners who've got a big list. You might want a high volume because actually you've got a relatively low cost product. It's obvious and easy what it is. And so actually finding partners where they can get things out en masse works really well for you. On the flip side, you might have a more complex product or a much more personal one where actually it's not necessarily about the volume of a partner's list, database, contacts. It's about how closely engaged they are with them, because they're going to need that in order to promote your product. So there's a whole load of things that you can go into to really find your ideal partner. And then once you've narrowed that down to the people that you think, yeah, you know what, these are the strongest ones, the absolute secret sauce in partnerships is something I call the real why. And this is the value that you deliver. Not just the value you deliver to their audience, but how that then reflects in value back to them. Because here's a little thing for you. Very rarely, in the case of strategic partnerships, is the commission or the revenue share that you provide someone the key driver in why they refer you on an ongoing basis. It will be important, and in some instances it will be the most important, but very rarely is it the most important. There are people out there where the service or the product that you offer not only offers value to their audience, but offers it in such a way that it either enhances your partner's product or service, or it just strengthens the relationship so much with they're an advisory role, and it strengthens the relationship so much with the customer that it makes them stickier in some way. And that is the reason why people will want to continue referring, that additional value that you offer them. To give an example of this, to put it into some context, I'm part of a mastermind community, and within that, we had a really exceptional telemarketing agency who were looking to start a referral campaign, and it wasn't quite hitting the mark. And this was brought us around, and she was targeting anyone who delivered inbound leads for people. So people who did things like Google Ads and that type of activity. So people who were sourcing and providing inbound leads for their clients. But the driver that she was pushing at these people was the fact that there's this commission share, and it was a decent percentage, and it was a high cost, a relatively high cost but high value service. So it was a nice financial stream that was there, but that wasn't the real why, because there was one of those kind of inbound search people within our group. What he was after was he's providing all these leads to his client, but then they're responsible for following them up, and they weren't a very sales-led organization in many instances. And so by him partnering with a telemarketing agency, he knew that if his clients used this telemarketing agency, then the leads that he provided, his organization provided, would be followed up promptly and professionally, which means they would be more likely to convert. And if they converted, then it would make the work that he did look much better, because he's providing leads that converted, which means the client not only continues with him, but actually invests more money in the advertising. And that's the real why. If you follow that through, it's that extra thing that happens that really excites him about why he wanted to work with that partner. And so think about, for you, where there's people where the service match is that tight that it really delivers some extra value. So I know I labored that one on a little bit, but it is so important to really nail the value, not just that you deliver to a client, but that extra value, how that reflects on your potential partners. So we know where we're at. We know where we're going. We've got our music. So we're on to the I, which is the invention. And I suppose, keeping on that disco theme, this would be the equipment. This would be making sure that we've got our sound system and everything like that. And it sounds super sexy and super fun, this piece, invention. But what it's about creating the right internal environment. So actually, it's a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that as a bit of an extrovert myself, it's not the stuff that I find most fun or easiest, but it absolutely is critical to create the right internal environment. It's the stuff that allows you to do the fun parts of the partnership, in my eyes. And so to keep this as fun as possible, I've gone quite image based, and the first thing we've got is our systems and processes. So our processes are obviously the things that we do in a certain way, and it's really crucial to make sure that we have these down, both in terms of our customer delivery and also what we do with our partners, so that we deliver a consistent level of service all the time, and then that we've got the systems and the software to back that up within our organization. This won't win you partnerships, but it can lose you partnerships if you don't do it well. So many big brands that I've worked with don't do what they say they're going to do on a consistent basis. So we're going to do this for you on this date, on this date of the month. So many people don't do that. And every time they don't, and you have to chase, a little bit of you kind of just loses a bit of faith in that partner. It makes you less sticky. So while this won't win you partnerships, what it will do is absolutely make sure that trust stays there, because it can get this wrong and it can break the trust, and it can and everything about partnerships, once you've got them, is about building that trust. Get this right and you can have utter confidence. The next one, we have tracking. And no, not actual race cars. This is about tracking data. So again, going back to that trust piece, it's about when you receive leads from your partners, it's about tracking them all the way through, from inquiry through to ideally them becoming a customer, and then that onward journey. If you have a partner and you can't, and they ask you about a particular lead that they passed through, and you can't quickly and confidently tell them what's happening with that, again, massive trust breaker. Because it's happened with me before, and with big brands, big global brands, and they obviously weren't doing this in the right way. They didn't have their systems and processes, and it made me not want to pass leads to them. It wasn't necessarily that I thought they were trying to cheat me or anything, but they clearly just didn't have they didn't have this in place properly, and my trust was starting to be lost. The final thing I'm going to cover on the invention side and the creating the right environment behind the scenes is lead handling. See what I did there with handle? Yeah. Now, partnerships don't normally go as well as you think they're going to do. Everyone's optimistic. So for that first campaign, and yeah, we're going to get loads of leads in, and it's going to be amazing. And typically it doesn't go quite as well, and it builds and builds and builds and builds and builds, and the long tail is huge. Now there are exceptions to the rule always, and it's wonderful when that does work. And I've been part of some awesome campaigns where they flew off the handle, but one of those didn't actually go very well. So this is why I bring lead handling up. Are you able to cope with the influx of leads that may happen, both in terms of your software and the systems, and again, systems, processes? We worked with a national data provider. When we ran our membership organization, we ran a campaign to both members and our list in general about a trial of some sales data. So we knew this would be successful, and we saw it as a great way of building member trust and gaining new members on the back of it. So we ran our campaign, and we got too many leads. And this national organization, well known, you would know them if I mentioned them, but I'm not going to because it's not a nice story. They couldn't handle the volume of leads. And so instead of the 2-day turnaround that people were supposed to get callbacks, it was taking, some of them didn't get contacted for over 2 weeks. So instead of us getting really happy members and potential new members, instead we were getting phone calls from people complaining that they hadn't been contacted. The exact opposite of what that campaign was supposed to do. So any trust with that partner, any kind of enthusiasm that we had at the outset was kind of lost, because actually they'd done the exact opposite of what they said they were going to do, and it had a negative effect for all parties. So just really make sure that that you're prepared for, if things do go as well as they possibly can do, that you're able to cope with that. Cool. So with me so far, we've done our discovery, we've done our I's, we've done our D-I-S next, and we're doing strategy. So I could have put S for sales, I could have put S for support. This is the kind of the actual activation of the partnership. So your moves, I suppose. Yeah, these are your moves on the dance floor. So many people set up a partnership and then just leave the partner to their own devices and wonder why nothing really ever happens. And it's because they haven't got the strategy in place to provide the right level of support to their partners on an ongoing basis. You have to make it really, really easy for your partners to do what you want them to do. And this is going to be a theme that's going to kind of run through the rest of this webinar. So here's some of the materials that I think you should be and could be providing to your partners. You won't need all of them, but here's some tips for you. So again, make it easy for all. We are in a world where we are so busy that we are also inherently lazy. And I don't mean lying around on the sofa lazy. I mean, if something's outside of our normal working remit, then unless it's handed to us on a plate, we are unlikely to do it, or do it as well as we could have done, or do it when we say we're going to. So the easier you make it for your partners to run some marketing material or make an introduction, the much more likely they are to do it. And it's much easier for you to do the work than it is for them. So put the groundwork in. Internal, external. This is the materials of the support you provide. Externals is the stuff that people traditionally think of in terms of what you would provide, and that would be sales material. So it's emails that they can send out, it's social posts, it's brochures, it's whatever they're looking for. It's the stuff that they physically hand out and it's customer facing. Internal is materials for your partners. If your partners are people who are promoting your service more on a one-to-one basis in kind of meetings and phone calls or whatever it may be, then give them the guidance. You may think it's common sense how to position what you do, but that's because you've got the common sense of having done it for a number of years. Don't presume your partners are going to know this. If you can provide the materials to support them, you'll go a long, long way to doing greater things with them. And it may seem that it's over-egging it. You're teaching people to suck eggs. But remember, there's potentially a team of people here that are going to be doing this. You could be chatting and setting up a partnership with a business owner who's super switched on, really opportunistic, and really gets what this is about. But that doesn't mean his team members are just as switched on as he or she is. You'd argue that a chunk of them won't be, and that's why your contact is a business owner. So this internal stuff around here's some things to listen out for, things to say, can be really, really crucial when it's in that. Make sure you deliver materials in the right format. Again, this is particularly right on the external piece. If they're sending things out on email, then provide them with that. But actually, if they do much more on social, then send them that ready to go. Don't send them your standard stuff and then expect them to adapt it for whatever channels they use. They may do it, but they're unlikely to do it as quickly or consistently. And this goes with the copy as well. Put it in the words that they would send out from, not like it's come from you. Make it easy. Make it easy for them to just receive and send. And on that same note, make it feel bespoke to them. If they've got an audience that's of a particular demographic, then try and match if you can. Make sure it's on brand for them and you. If you pick the right partners from back in the discovery section, this shouldn't be too hard. But yeah, make sure it's on brand for them and you. And make sure you're providing them with the support at the right time. Where can you fit in with their processes so that your product or service is really easy to refer at the right time? Give them the guidance to do that. Get all these pieces in and you'll be streets ahead of what most people do. Even just do one or two pieces and you'll still be doing better than most. So that's our strategy piece. That's the really making sure you're supporting your strategic partners in getting them to do what you want them to do, which is provide you high quality leads on a consistent basis. Final bit. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Remember, keep it easy. So we're on to our C now. So we're almost there, done, and it's about connection. And for me, keeping that disco analogy going, this is about that connection you feel. And I suppose it's not just on a dance floor. It could be a football stadium. It could be any kind of event where there's a shared experience with people. This is what that connection is. So this is about engaging with your partners on an ongoing basis to build that level of connection with them. Again, it's trust. It's building relationships. It's about forming trust. Everything about strategic partnerships is about keeping that trust there. Once you've formed that partnership, there should be no reason why they would ever go elsewhere. There's a number of ways you can do this to make it a forever partnership. It starts with planning. So many partnerships that I see not only fizzle out, but actually kind of end in a sour note because expectations haven't been set at the outset. And that's both short term, as in who's doing what, but long term vision as well around where they see a partnership going. Never assume. Right early doors, kind of really get that planning piece in around what we're expecting from this partnership and who's doing what. The reporting. So this links to the tracking. Make sure that if you say to your partners that you're going to let them know that you're going to report back to them on every month on this set day of the month around what's going on with inquiries that have come in, do it. Make sure that you do it in a manner that's easy for them to engage with. General communications. So keep in touch with your partners outside of kind of maybe the day-to-day stuff that you're doing. What is there that you could add value? Is a partner newsletter appropriate? Is just sending the odd piece of content that you know is right for your partners right? There is no set thing to do here because it will entirely depend on your business and your partner types. If you've got a high volume of partners because that suits your business, then maybe doing something like a newsletter works for them. If you've got only a handful of really trusted partners, then maybe it's something a bit more tailored and bespoke. But keeping that ongoing communication with them will only add value. Reviews. So this is formal reviews and links back to that planning and expectation. Even if you're talking to your partners on a consistent basis, that's day to day, having formal reviews in place where you can come back to those expectations that you had at the outset and see how you're performing is really important. It also gives a framework to have maybe conversations that otherwise would be a little bit uncomfortable. And then we have your ad hoc. Now, I put ad hoc down on here because if you're doing your tracking right, then there's all sorts of things that you can do around a partner's performance to see if they're typically overperforming or underperforming, either compared to each other or to their normal standards. And when that happens, dropping a kind of a random phone call in just to see what's going on can get you really, really good information from those. So dropping those in. But just always add value. I think that's the thing, is before you pick up the phone, before you send that email, before you do, think, is this going to add value? And if it does, then do it. So we're on to connection. So that's connection. So the final piece of our DISCO framework, and so our I know what I'm going to do it. Our DISCO. O is for opportunity. This is about going out and getting them, and this is where you can really leverage your credibility. Because whether you're an existing business, established business that's growing, or whether you're just starting out, if you've got that credibility within a particular sector or a particular niche, and you can really clearly articulate that real why I spoke about, then when you're making an approach to someone, you're going there with a genuine partnership opportunity. You're not approaching someone to sell to them. If you ever feels like you're selling a partnership opportunity, then just stop, because you probably are, and that's not the way to go about it. If you can find a matching partner where there's a genuine approach and you know the value you can deliver, you've got the credibility to build trust quickly, then actually going out and forming partnerships is so much easier than people think. It's about you having the confidence that you've got the right systems and processes behind you and the right communication strategies, that you're going to provide your partners with the right level of support. And because of that, you're then confident in your own service and your credibility. And you can go out there and actually attract them is so much easier than you would imagine. It's also a great place for you to be able to use your own network. This is particularly true of people, well, you know, again, whether you're starting out or you're establishing look of that next stage of growth. Maybe you don't want to go out to your network asking for direct referrals, or maybe you've done that a lot already. Going out and looking for partners in that way is a completely different kettle of fish. So actually this opportunity piece, which is the one that lots of people get hung up on, there's some really quick, simple solutions, but it's about getting the rest of it right. And so here we are. We're at the last dance of the night, the final track. We've gone through discovery, invention, strategy, connection, and opportunity. And that's that. If you implement each of those bits, and there's kind of gold-plated standard, and then there's better than most. If you can implement each 5 stages of this effectively, then you'll be well on your way to gaining and keeping high quality strategic partners that deliver you high quality leads on a consistent basis. And remember, there's little or no haggling on price. They're less likely to be shopping around, and that sales cycle becomes so much shorter. Now, Final reminder, I said it would be a running theme. Make it easy for them. Make it easy for you. Make it easy for them. Now, I say make it easy for you. Partnerships are an easier and more enjoyable way of running your business when they're up and running, but they're not easy to set up. All that things we've gone through does take hard work. There are no shortcuts to doing that. Partnerships, in a way, kind of are the shortcut in that they're a great way of shortening those sales cycles and delivering high quality leads. But they do take hard work to set up. It's about testing and measuring. The only shortcut you can take is the shortcut to the mistakes that everyone else makes. And that comes from working with an expert who's made all those mistakes for you, like me. So I've gone through that pain. And what I now do now, I mentioned that right at the end, I tell you how you could work with me, is that I work with people to set these pits up, to work through that framework and set these things up. I have a group, I do that one-to-ones or in group with my Profitable Partnership Program. Next one kicks off on the 13th of October. Or if you're watching this as a recording, then check out the website because there'll be more. It's a 6-week program with weekly live sessions and then one-to-one and email calls in between the two. I only have a maximum of 8 businesses on that, so it keeps it really personal and relevant specifically for your business. So it's not generic things, it's absolutely relevant to you. And at the end of that, we will have a really clear, defined framework for a best-in-class partner program that you can go and implement. The idea is that along with the notes and the tools that we use going through that DISCO framework, that if further down the line, you then went into a new sector or had a new product range, that you'd be able to run through this program again to go and find the ideal partners for that new offering or that new sector. So it's not just about getting something set up as a one-time thing. It's really about you building your skills and your knowledge so that you can do this on a consistent basis for your business moving forwards. It's £1,500 and a £500 deposit to score your space. If you are listening to this on recording, I think this is probably the last time. The October one's the last time it's going to be run at this price. Delighted to say I've worked with a number of businesses on this and have some really, really wonderful testimonials for some really, really lovely people, actually. So here's one from the gorgeous Lisa, who was an absolute delight to work for. And if you want to see more of these, then go and check them out on the site. There'll be some details coming on the flip side on how you can get in touch with me, or a booking call. If you want to have just an exploratory call about how partnerships might work for you, then I'll make sure there's a Candy link in there as well. Literally no pressure. Love exploring how partnerships work for people. So that's all. Thank you for listening if you have been, and I will see you soon, ideally. Cheers. Bye.